This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi. So we're learning Sefer Nechemia, Parak Tes, Pasuk Tes Zayin. Parak Tes, Pasuk Tes Zayin. And we're talking about after the Rosh Hashanah, in the times of Nechemia, we now discuss Parak Ches, Pasuk Tes Zayin. So we discussed their tshuva on Rosh Hashanah, and now we're up to their experience of Chag HaSukkah. So in Pasuk Tes Zayin, Vayetzu ha'am, the people went out, Vayaviu, and they brought Vayasu lahem Sukkos, and they made for themselves Sukkos, Ish al Gagoy, each man on his roof, Uvechatzrei and in their courtyards, Uvechatzrei Beis Holakim, and the courtyards of the house of God, Uverchayv Shar Hamayim, and in the street of the gate of the water, Uverchayv Shar Ephraim, and in the street of the gate of Ephraim. Vayasu kol hakol hashavim min ashri Sukkos, and the whole congregation that returned from captivity made Sukkos. Vayeshru ba'Sukkos, they dwelled in the Sukkos. Ki lo asu mimei Yehoshua ben Nun, they had not made Sukkos like this since the times of Yehoshua ben Nun. By the way, the name Yehoshua is spelled without a hey, and the reason is because the Gemara says Yehoshua did not sufficiently eradicate Avodah Zarah. So from the days of Yehoshua ben Nun, Klal Yisrael did not make Sukkos. Bnei Yisrael ad hayom hahu, until that day. V'atihi simcha gedol lamay. It was a very great joy. Now we have to deal with two problems. Number one, like we mentioned last week, how could they make Sukkos in Shar Hamayim and Shar Ephraim? The halacha is you're not to make a Sukkah in Rosh Hashanah. If you make a Sukkah in Rosh Hashanah, it's a Sukkah Gezula, and you're not yotzei the mitzvah properly. So how could they make the Sukkos? You're not to make Sukkos in a public. If you don't own the real estate, then you don't get the mitzvah. You got to own the land. And number two, what does it mean that Bnei Yisrael did not make Sukkos since the times of Yehoshua ben Nun? Could you say such a thing? And I could understand that for 70 years in the Galus, maybe they didn't have the mitzvah of Sukkah. But what are you going to say in times of David, in the times of Shlomo? They didn't sit in the Sukkah. So the Malbim, we pointed out, and let's just remind ourselves, the Malbim on Pasuk Yudaled said that this is a davar zar me'oi, this is a very foreign idea, to say that Klal Yisrael did not make Sukkos. So, especially, so the Malbim says like this: if you look in the Ramah and Orach Chaim in Siman Tafresh Lamed Zayin, you're not to make a Sukkah in Rosh Hashanah. Now we hold that Yerushalayim, what do we paskin? Nischalek l'shvatim or loy nischalek l'shvatim? Was Yerushalayim divided among the 12 tribes or was it not? We hold Yerushalayim was not divided among the 12 tribes. So if that's the case, there are no Rishus HaYachids in Yerushalayim. So you can't make a sukkah there. But when Ezra came back to the land, we hold Kitcha Rishayna, Kitcha Lashaita, V'loi Kitcha L'Asalavai, which means when Yehoshua ben Nun sanctified the land, it was sanctified temporarily, but not for all time. So when the Jewish people were exiled, the sanctity of the Holy Land ceased, which in case when Ezra returned, and he was Kohen Eretz Yisrael with Chazaka, so he stipulated what kind of Kedusha he's going to infuse Yerushalayim with. And he was Masneh, his Bezdin was Masneh, that they would be allowed to make Sukkos in Yerushalayim in their Shusarabim. Why didn't Yehoshua ben Nun do that? The answer is, he never did that. Yehoshua lo yasakein. Why didn't David and Shlomo make Sukkos in Yerushalayim? He wasn't allowed to. It was Rosh Hashanah. You can't make a Sukkah in Yerushalayim. Yeah, but I want to be Mekayim the Mitzvah. The first thing you have to know is don't be a robber.
Did he actually take over Yerushalayim?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you captured the Harabayas, but
that midrash out there that they had some type of a deal from Yebusi.
And at the whole Yerushalayim, or just the Temple Mount?
Well, this is what we're talking about, right? We're talking about the environments of the Temple Mount.
Well, here now we're talking about the whole Yerushalayim. There were no sukkahs in the whole city. The entire city was Leinis Chalik L'Shatim.
So the areas around the city was given to Yehuda.
That's one shita, Yehuda and Binyamin. The other shita was Leinis Chalik L'Shatim. Universal territory. It's a machlokes in Gemara Megillah and in Erechim, whether Yerushalayim was Neschalik L'Shvatim or Lo Neschalik. And the Malbim says we paskin Lo Neschalik.
Okay, but where does Yerushalayim stop and the suburb starts?
There is no suburb. The old city.
The old city.
Yeah. Now for Hilchos Megillah, it's any from wherever you could see. But Yerushalayim, in terms of Kachim Kalem and Meiser Sheni, is the old city. Okay. So let us proceed. Yeah. It's Sukkah where? Not a Sukkah. If they got Rishus, so then you have to get permission. No, you're saying it's not in New York. You want to know? Let's say someone builds a sukkah on Main Street. You want to know? No, you can't do it.
All stores do it.
What?
All restaurants do it.
That should be the smallest problem with what's going on. Do they get permission? I mean, I'm not mistaken, there's a shita that property in front of your house, I think he brings down here.
But I live in a garden apartment.
What?
I live in a garden apartment. In the front of the house, it's called the common area. It doesn't belong to you. Anywhere next to the
If it belongs to everybody, then it's not just
No, the reason you're allowed to make a sukkah just around them is because you're minimizing the people's walking space. I want to walk there.
Oh no, this is not a garden.
Whatever, it's my.
And the management company is Maked.
Is Makbid?
Yeah. By the time, but they give you the, what do you call it?
The summons?
Summons, this and not summons, but I'll over and to get out. Every year is the same.
You're not impeding anybody.
No, it's not. Not at all. It's on the garden.
It's not on the pier.
No.
No.
Not at all.
Here, you want to bring a Shulchan Aruch? Archaim Gimel. You want a halacha l'maisa?
Please.
Halacha l'maisa. Tafresh Lamed Zayin.
Or the rubbish next one in the city in not Times Square, what's that?
Herald?
Yeah, something like that.
Macy?
Oh, Macy, yeah. They make one over there.
Who?
The rubbish.
As he said, that's
Says the Ramah. You can't build your sukkah on your friend's permission, property without permission. So you want to know you're yotzei? L'chadchila you're not yotzei. B'diavad you're yotzei. Now there's a Magen Avram.
And even if it's in the pathway, so what? So they go around it. What's the big deal?
You're a robber. What do you mean? What do you mean? What's the big deal? You're a robber. You're a robber. Get him. Magen Avraham says, one second.
So that's it. How you make one in the shul by the back by the shul cat.
We own that property. We own it. We own the yeshiva. The yeshiva built on our property. They pay us rent. Yeah. So. Let's see what else. One second. There's a Magen Avraham here. Where's it? Anyone remember where the Magen Avraham is?
What are you doing?
Looking, there's a Magen Avraham.
So quiet, Sure. So quiet.
Make some noise.
Times 637.2. Are you there? Or 637.2?
Thank you.
Yes. Where are you reading from?
English. Well, Ezra's Bezdin acting as a representative of the general interest, decree that the public domain be open for the use of Sukkah. What is there? Okay. Not generally permissible to build a Sukkah in the public domain, thereby deprive the public of their use of the area. Ramah or Chaim 637.2. But the Magen Avraham is somewhere in the Tosef.
But the Magen Avraham too?
No, it's the Ramah 637.2.
Right.
But the Magen Avraham is a commentary to the Tosef and Bava Kama.
Sukkah Gezula Kshera. Inam the Hadarshim.
What's interesting about it is the Sukkah Gezula issue.
Where's the Mishnah? You want to get me Mishnah Baruch Chelek Vav? Over there? The Magen Avraham wants to know, but Tzarchin Shenagu Tzas Lasai Sukkah B'Shus Haravim Kain Sukkah Gezulahu. And don't say the Bnei Ir HaMoicha, because the whole world owns it. Thank you. And don't say, well, the Jews are Moicha because Goyim own it. Now, even though Gezel Akum is Asur, but still not a Mitzvah Abba Ba'avera, so he says he can't make a bracha. So he can't make a bracha. Magen Avraham says he can't make a bracha.
Make a bracha on what?
On a sukkah that's built in public property. Okay, let's see here. You ready for this? This is Mishnah Berurah. V'chein b'karka shishal rabim. You can't build a sukkah on a rabim, but b'diavad yiratz. It says in Mishnah Berurah. Kasa Magen Avraham. V'tzarchin shnagat tzas las sukkah shishal rabim. Some d'chol yisal ma'ichl mikama yisagim chedgam. V'hela ta'asur mitam zel las sukkah shishal rabim. Da'akum b'vadei d'loi machli. V'yafter yavik shem mikol makom lo yivarech aleh. Da'brach levatala. Yeah? V'vel yarkoz d'brach levatala lo yhavik.
Who's that?
You need to say
The Magen Avraham says if you build a sukkah on a public property, it's a brach levatala. The Eliyahu Rabbi says it's not a bracha levatara. And he says, therefore, if you don't have, the Eliyahu Rabbi says, if you don't have another one, you can make a bracha.
So what do you do like all these sukkahs that are built in Williamsburg on sidewalks and the kind of
So we're talking about
people eat there will make a bracha?
I live in Queens. I don't live in Williamsburg.
No, I'm trying to tell you, when you go to Williamsburg, you see the sukkahs and the sidewalk and the bill.
It's private.
That means the people who eat that sukkah don't make a bracha.
They don't make the bracha then, yeah.
So the Magen Avraham says the sukkah is okay, but don't make a bracha. That's what he's saying.
Yeah. You can't make it.
So what's
Why?
the issue there? You sit in the sukkah and you eat without a bracha of leishay by sukkah.
It's time they have rishus from the city to build the sukkah. I don't know what the whole
They have rishus from the city? Why do you think they have rishus? People who park and they don't put money in the meter, they got rishus from the city to park there. They do it.
The whole project, like 300 families living in the building. You didn't think that they asked the city for rishus to build the house?
Probably not.
No?
I don't know. Now the Shalom Mesha brings down that the street in front of your house is yours. Especially if you have document from the Sar Ha'ir that you're allowed to make a sukkah there.
Oh, a document.
But says the Bir Halacha, so there's one heter. Okay, you ready for this? The Bir Halacha brings down. First he quotes the Magen Avraham. That's Choshish for bracha vatala. Now many Achronim challenge the Magen Avraham, and they say it's not a bracha vatala. Who are they? The Beis Meir and the Big Day Yesha and the Shalom Meshiv says the property from your house you're allowed to, and the Bikurai Yaakov is Mekel for a different reason. That if the Melech gives Rishus to put up doors in the Mavoi, Dina the Malchus Dina. And since the Malchus, if they didn't want it, they could stop it, obviously they're Meichel. And the Bikurai Yaakov says you don't have to ask permission. The fact they don't take it down, and therefore says the Bir Halacha, should you do it? But if you see someone do it, you don't have to take down their sukkah.
Wait. After all that he said,
Yeah,
people who said no,
the Magen Avraham,
they don't go.
the Magen Avraham says it's a bracha latala.
So he trumps everybody.
Doesn't trump everyone. You want me to read 2 words? Soif davar hanoyagim lahakol b'zeh ein limchos biyadam kirabu hamatirin. You know what ein limchos means?
What is it?
Don't throw tomatoes at them. Don't be moicha. He's not saying you should do this. He's not recommending it. He's saying, don't protest.
Don't give them tochacha. You don't say you shouldn't be doing this because the Magen Avraham says you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't.
He doesn't say you shouldn't do it.
What are you supposed to do? You see it, right? He's saying ain't nothing to me.
Don't protest.
Stop. Let him keep doing what they
Let him be. Let him be. Live and let live.
Yeah, live, but you always say live and let live is not a big Jewish concept.
When
The rabbis say it's okay.
when there's what to rely on. There's substantial poskim to rely on. But the Bir Halacha, he doesn't say this is like he doesn't say this is mutter l'chatchila. He says ein limchos. Yeah. Then he says, if we're going to be machmer to say you can't make it next to your house, there's going to be a big kilkel. And he says, Okay, then he says another reason why he's not so against it, because the alternative is people make it in the back of the house, and in the back of the house, that's where people go to the bathroom, and there you can't eat, you can't make a bracha. So therefore, it's better to put it on the side of the house where, at least b'di'evad you'd say, than to put it in a place where you're not even used to b'di'evad.
That doesn't apply today.
It does not apply today, no. So you're allowed to do it?
Why is the Sukkah Gezula kosher?
Why is the Sukkah Gezula kosher? Because it's not a mitzvah haba ba'avera. You didn't steal the Sukkah, you stole the property on which the Sukkah was built. It's your Sukkah, you own the walls. Just you're stealing the property from the Rabbi. Well, there are two things. There's a... Yeah.
So if you steal the thing, that's...
Well then, in that case, you're also kosher. Why? Because you're not stealing the... You can't steal the karka. How do you steal a karka? You're just standing on it, but you didn't steal it. You didn't take it.
Thinking about the raw materials that you use to steal the walls and this.
Okay, so you want to know, are you allowed to make it? Bottom line, are you allowed to take a sukkah and put it in front of your house on public property? Are you allowed to?
Probably not.
Difference of opinion.
Are you Yotze? Probably.
Are you
In your
Yotze?
house.
You're Yotze.
The bad question is if you're Yotze.
You're Yotze. Are you allowed to make a bracha? Magen Avram says no. Others say yes.
We're talking about the nation of the Sukkah.
Yeah. But bracha on stealing from the government? There's no bracha.
You don't need a shalochem. You need a shalochem.
You don't need lachem. However, the Magen Avram brings down that there's a pasuk called Ha'ezrach v'Yisrael Yeshu Basukais. No, 1 second. It says Tasa L'cha. Tasa L'cha is Mamayid a Sukkah Gezula. Okay, so it sounds like this is a practice that a lot of people do, and there's some basis to do it. But is a chachila? Probably questionable whether it's a chachila. At least according, that's what the Magen Avram.
I'm invited to your house for a meal.
Well, let's say like this. Let's say you put up a sukkah on the roof, right? And the building's policy is you can't put a sukkah on the roof. So then what?
But who makes the rules? Some board members.
Of course, it's not have bias.
Yeah.
I mean, on the east side, you couldn't put in the co-ops. You have to have the permission of the people who ran it. It was an administration.
They're the
Why
owners.
can't you put it on your roof?
Now let's say you have an apartment building,
Oh, the apartment building.
and the rule is you can't put it on the roof. So now you say, well, they only don't want me to put it on the roof because they don't want me falling off the roof. I'm not worried. Are you allowed to put it on the roof? I don't know.
It's the same thing. What's the roof of the street?
Street, you're stealing from people. Here it's like a safety code. I don't know. Okay, let's move on. Okay, now we're trying to get beyond Sukkot, right? Okay. So, Vayikra b'Sefer Torah Solikim Yom b'Yom. They read the Torah of Hashem every day. Min Hayom HaRishon, from the first day, Ad Hayom HaAchron, until the last day. Vayasu Chag Shivas Yomim, and they made the Yom Tov for 7 days. Vayom HaShmini, and on the 8th day, Atzeres Kamishpat. They made Atzeres, as is the law. Shmini Atzeres. Okay. Uviyahim Esrim V'Arba LaChodesh Hazeh. And on the 24th day of this month. Now, does anybody know what the 24th day of the month of Tishrei is? Not everybody at once. What's the 24th day of the Yom Tov of Tishrei? The answer is it's nothing. It's nothing. The 24th day of the month of Tishrei is nothing. What's the 23rd day? The 23rd day is Isru Chag. Yeah? The 21st day is what? Hishan Rabbah. The 22nd.
How do you get? 23rd day?
The 21st day of Tishrei.
21.
21st is Hoshana Rabbah. Right? The 15th is Sukkah, and Hoshana Rabbah is the 6th day, the 21st day. And the 22nd day is Shmini Atzeres. And the 23rd day is Isru Chag. They don't have Simchas Torah in another. They don't have 2 days in Eretz Yisrael. And the 24th day is nothing. That's why they gathered to fast. But they couldn't gather the day before, because the day before is Isru Chag. You know how to fast on Isru Chag? Uvesakim and sackcloth va'adam aleim, by putting earth on themselves. Says the Malbim, Ki b'yom chav gimel haya efshel lesanais hu yom she'achar hachag da'asar b'tainis. It's the day after Sukkot. Others learn, namely Tosfos and Masechta Rosh Hashanah, I believe, on your Testament days, that if you remember, that year the Eidim did not come right away. So really, the first day of Rosh Hashanah was Lamed Elul, and the second day was Aleph Tishrei, which comes out the 24th day, since the new moon was really the 23rd day of Tishrei, which was Isru Chag. So, according to Tosfos, they were fasting on Isru Chag. And what they do? Vayibadlu Zera Yisrael. The children of Israel separated Mikoil B'nei Nechar, from all foreign seed, from all foreign descendants. Vayamdu, and they stood up. Vayizvadu, and they confessed Al Chatoisehem, for their sins. Va'avoinos Avoisehem, and the sins of their fathers. Now, what are they confessing? Well, intermarriage. Well, didn't Ezra correct that? Remember, in the times of Ezra, they got together and they had a whole meeting and they corrected the Hisbolelus. What do they call it, right? In modern Hebrew, Hitbolelut, intermarriage, right? So they tried to correct. The answer is, well, they apparently slipped again. There were more instances.
What, in Nothing? They had what, people that married in Nothing?
No. In general, after the Yom Tov, when over the course of Yom Tov, they spent a lot of time eating in people's houses, and they had people there. They had son-in-laws, daughter-in-laws that were
Assimilated by them?
what?
Assimilated by them?
They had intermarried. Apparently, they didn't take care of the problem.
When did Ezra get into that whole cleaning up phase?
At the end of Sefer Ezra, right? Now, some say this happened afterwards, and some say this happened before Ezra. There are different opinions. The Malbim says, look at the Malbim, Mikol b'nei Nechar, Minoshim Nachriyos, Ta'achar shepirshu mehem be'es Aliyas Ezra, after they separated in the times of Ezra, Nichshelu b'za'achar kach shenis, they stumbled again. And if you say that this story happened in the times of Zerubbabel, so you have to say then also it happened again in the times of Ezra. Either way, there must have been two instances. So what they do, they confessed, they repented, Vayakumu al amdam, they stood on their posts, Vayikru, the Sefer Torah Hashem Lekem, they read the Sefer Torah, Revius Hayom, for a quarter of the day, Uravius Misvadim, and for a quarter of the day they confessed, Umishtachvim Hashem Lekeim, and they bowed down to Hashem. Now, in Sefer Ezra, we find that that during a Tainus, the first half of the day, they inspected the actions of the people. If you look in Sefer Ezra, Parak Tes, Pasuk, Dalid, it says, Pasuk Hey, Ve'ela yeyasvu koil choreid v'divrei elokei sa amal agav ani yoshev m'shomim ad l'minchas ha'erev. So that means like this, that the Gemara says in Masechta Megillah that on a fast day, this is how you break up the day. The first half of the day you investigate the acts of the people. For the next quarter of the day, you read the Torah, and the next quarter of the day they pray. And the Gemara learns out the first half is inspection, the next quarter is limud, the final quarter is tefillah. Vayakom, they got up. Al ma'alei haLevim, on the steps of the Levium.
Where's the viduy?
What is the viduy?
Well, where, on that, you see there's three things, right? There's a viduy one.
No.
Inspection, you said?
Inspection,
Yeah.
limud,
So
and tefillah.
Doesn't the guy have to basically, when he's doing...
I mean, when did they confess?
Yeah.
Maybe that was part of the tefillah.
As you say later, there's a bone kai boshik and klanti or in kai from there left. That's
But in where? We're going back to Ezra?
yeah, because he's not. Oh, this was him. This was Ezra himself. Doing.
This right.
I guess everybody follows his reason, no? But then why would the city seem like a Bahab thing right now?
Bahab? Usually get Bahab, you have to wait till the next month.
I know, so I mean, this is like a purpose. Maybe that they had too much.
I mean, this is like a basis for doing tshuva after the Yom Tov. Okay. Okay. Now the Levium, Vayakom Amalei HaLevium. They stood on the staircase of the Levium. Which stairs are these? Well, we know there are three steps that separate the Ezras Yisrael from the Ezras Kohanim. And the Levium stood on this platform. Rashi says, Amalei HaLevium, Maloi Sayusham ShaLevium Oimdim Shamaleim B'Shah Sha'amru Shira. Who stood on it? Yeshua, Uvani, Kadmiel, Shivanya, Buni, Sheravia, Bani, Chanani, Vayizaku B'Kol Gadol, and they cried out, El Hashem Elokeim, to Hashem their God. And the question is, Rabbi Sai, what were they crying about? What were they mispalel? This is something very interesting. You know what they were crying about? The Gemara says in Masechta Yuma, do they have field here?
The other way, behind you. Right.
They said like this, Amar Ravi Tim Rav Yochanan, bye bye. That's a language of crying out. Hainu hai dachrave lemikdasha. This is what destroyed the mikdash. V'kalei lehechala, and burnt the hechal. V'katlinu lekulu tzadike, and killed the righteous. V'aglinu liyisome arahain, and exiled the Jews from their land. V'adayin merakid beinan, and still aggravates us. Klum yavina lan ela kulu be'agra. You only gave it to us that we should receive reward. We don't need it. We don't need the world. The reward. What were they davening for? They were davening to be mavatel the Yitzhahara of Avodah Zarah. That's what's going on over here. At this momentous occasion, They were mispalel that the Rebbeinu Shem should be mevatel the avodah zarah. So you'll ask, what do you mean? In India, people still worship avodah zarah. So what happened to their tefillah? They were only wanted to be mevatel the desire for avodah zarah, the cheshek, the passion. But whether people do it or not, that's still possible. What happened? Nafal hu piska merakia. A piece of paper came down from heaven to have a kasava MS. On it was written MS. Amarav Chanina Shma Minach Chaysama Shal Kadosh Baruch Hu MS. Oysivu b'tanisa Tasiyam and Tasilel Vasa. They fasted 3 days, 3 nights. Masrua Nehalei. Nafak Asa Kiguria Denura Mives Kodesh HaKadoshim. A fiery lion came out of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Amar Lahu Navi Li Yisrael Hainu Yitzhar D'Avodah Zarah. In other words, that's what destroyed the first Beis HaMikdash. Yeah? By the way, very interesting, the Aruch LaNer writes, the end of Masechta Makos, that when Rabbi Kiva went to the Har HaBayis, what did he see coming out of the Har HaBayis? A fox. What's Pshat? Pshat is, says the Aruch LaNer, that the first Beis HaMikdash, they saw a fiery lion coming out of the Beis HaMikdash. That represented what destroyed the first Beis HaMikdash? Yetzer hara. That's a powerful desire. But by the second Beis HaMikdash, it wasn't a powerful desire that destroyed it. It was a sly, clever Aveira. The Aveira of Sinas Chinam with the Yetzer hara. It's not that a person has a desire, a passion to hate your friend, but it's a sinister, devious type of plant of the Yetzer hara. And we once said a pshat, when we made a sima, Masechta Makos, we said that Rabbi Akiva was once gathered a big assembly of Talmidim, and they said, Rabbi, you're risking your life. So what did Rabbi Akiva say? There's a story of a fox and a fish, and the fox says to the fish, what? What? Come out of the river and let's stroll together, like the good old days. And the fish said, if we're at my place of life, and I'm in sakana, in my place of death, all the more so. So Rabbi Akiva says, if when I'm learning Torah, I'm in sakana. If I forsake the Torah, without Torah, you're as good as dead, like it says, Kihim Chayin Marachimenu. So what do we see? What does the fox represent? Fox represents Bittul Torah. And that also may be why the fox came out of the Makom Kadosh HaKadoshim, in other words, to indicate that all the tsaras of Klal Yisrael are also because of that Aveira. But here, at this momentous occasion, they're trying to be mevatel the Yetzer hara for avodah zarah. Now, it's very interesting. If you think of it, why are they being mispalel to be mevatel avodah zarah? That wasn't the problem here. What was the problem? Intermarriage. So they should have been mispalel to be mevatel intermarriage. Why are they being mispalel to be mevatel avodah zarah? Well, we know Chazal say that the only reason Klal Yisrael desires avodah zarah is to be promiscuous. Right? They wanted well, what's the taiva for avodah zarah? The taiva is to be able to be licentious. So possibly this was nipping in the bud. Once we're mevatel avodah zarah, that may take care of the problem of hispolulus. He's very flexible.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.